Today we're going to talk about some of the parts of a circle and also the circumference of circles. So the first thing we need to talk about a little bit is the parts of the circle. And there's a little bit of vocabulary we need to know here. First of all, we need to know the word radius. As you can see from this picture, the radius is a line segment that goes from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. And I can draw the radius anywhere I want. Here's a radius, here's a radius. I can draw the radius anywhere that I want as long as it goes from the edge of the circle to the center of the circle. And every radius in one circle, any radius that you could draw in the same circle is going to have the same length. And then another word we need to know about circles is diameter. The diameter is really when I put two radii, and that's the plural of radius, when I put two radii end to end. So this is my diameter. So the diameter is always going to be double the radius because the diameter goes not just halfway through the circle, but all the way through the circle, and it has to go through the center of the circle. It's really easy to mix those two words up, which one's which. So one way that you can remember it is the word diameter is longer than the word radius, just like the diameter of a circle is longer than its radius. Another word we need to know about circles is the word circumference. The circumference of the circle is the distance all the way around the outside. Oops, upside down E there. It's the distance all around the outside. So there's a way to find the circumference of a circle because obviously a ruler doesn't work really well on that. So it's kind of hard to measure if we don't have a way to find it. And there is a formula for how we find area, or how we find circumference of a circle rather. The formula for circumference of a circle is circumference is equal to pi times the diameter. Now, you might be going, what the heck is pi? Well, what you need to know is that pi is the relationship between the diameter of a circle and its circumference. Every single circle has a relationship where the diameter, or where the circumference rather, is 3.14, approximately 3.14 times the diameter. So really, when we think about pi, pi is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. So circumference divided by diameter always has to equal pi, 3.14. So you could take any circle that you wanted to, measure its circumference, measure its diameter, do the circumference divided by the diameter, and you should get approximately 3.14 because that's what pi is. It is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. So because we know that that relationship exists between pi and circumference and diameter, pi being the relationship between the two, then we can use that relationship to write the formula. That's where the formula comes from. Think about it. If we multiply by diameter on both sides, then don't we end up with circumference equals pi times diameter? So it should make sense where that formula comes from. Let's look at some examples. So looking at this circle, if we want to find its circumference, then we're going to use the circumference formula. Circumference equals pi times diameter. So this is pretty easy. Circumference equals 3.14 times the diameter here is 18 meters. So our circumference is going to be 56 and 52/100 meters. Pretty easy. So let's look at another one. Again, the formula for circumference is circumference equals pi times diameter. So I'm going to look at this and say circumference is equal to pi times 4 2/10. Now you might say, where the heck does 4 2/10 come from? Well, if you're looking carefully, notice that 2 1/10 centimeters is the radius. We need the diameter. So we have to draw in another radius to make the whole diameter. And that section then is going to be 2 1/10 centimeters. So the total diameter then is 4 2/10 centimeters. So pi times 4 2/10 centimeters, or 3 and 1400ths times 4 and 2/10 centimeters is going to be 13 and 188 thousandths centimeters, approximately. Now, again, the thing you have to be careful about is making sure whether you're looking at the diameter or the radius of the circle, and making sure that you're using the correct one when you're using the formula. Another way you could look at the formula, you can always look at the formula as circumference equals 2, you often see it 2 pi r, and that should make sense because that's really what that's really saying is circumference is equal to pi times 2 times the radius. Well, again, notice that 2 times the radius is always going to be what? It's always going to be the diameter. So you can certainly use the formula 2 times pi times radius if you're given the radius of a circle, and that works just fine, but you don't really necessarily need to. You can just double the radius, which is really what you're doing anyway when you use that formula, and then use it as diameter. Either way is fine.